One last question I want to ask you before we go to the audience. If you have a question, raise your hand. We'll get a microphone to you so we can ask you and get you on the public address system as well. And that is from one of your newest ventures, and that is Virgin Galactic. I understand that you have sold a number of tickets already, that construction is underway for the spaceport. So when is the first flight, Richard? And will you be on board?
Well, I'll certainly be on board, and my kids have also booked tickets, and my parents.
I understand Joan, your wife, is somewhat reluctant. She's going to wave.
Sometimes it makes sense to marry somebody of a very similar character, and sometimes opposites. And in our case, it's opposites, and it's worked extremely well for 33 years. I don't think she'd call herself adventurous, as far as that's concerned. Now, Virgin Galactic's been the most wonderful voyage to date. In 1990, I registered the name Virgin Galactic Airways. I'd got fed up waiting for NASA to build spaceships to enable you and me to go up into space, and determinedly wanted to see if we couldn't create a spaceship so that in my lifetime I could go up into space at a price which was relatively affordable. And for 10 years went off and saw every zany, wonderful, incredible engineer project. And fortunately, ended up in the Mojave Desert at Burt Rutan's place, standing in front of the greatest engineering aviation genius of our time, and he created Spaceship One, which was the first commercial reusable spaceship, which did 3 flights into space, and now he's creating Spaceship Two, which will be able to take 6 people up into space at a time. We've just finished the mothership, which is called Eve, which will take the spaceship up to 60,000 feet before you're dropped off and then sent off from 0 to 2,500 miles an hour in 10 seconds into space. And New Mexico are building the most magnificent spaceport, where the initial flights will all be going from, right in the middle of the New Mexican desert. So not long now. So very, very exciting. By the end of this year, the spaceship will be taken out of its hangar. So it's getting close.
Now, how many miles would one have to fly in Virgin America to build up enough points? You know where I'm going with this.
Well,
how many would buy a ticket on Virgin Galactic? Raise your hands. Let's see. Well,
one advantage that you have of choosing Virgin as your flying partner is that you can get points on Virgin Atlantic, you can get points in Virgin Nigeria, you can get points in Virgin Blue, you can get points in V Australia, and now you can get points in Virgin America. So it won't take you too long before you're off into space.
Let's go to the audience. I know we have questions out there, and I don't know where the microphone is. Where's the hand? Right over here. Okay, let's go way over here. If the house lights could come up just a bit so I can see through the spotlights. Your name, and I do want to remind you, we are on a very tight schedule. Richard must leave at 9:30. So if you ask a direct question, a couple of sentences, that would be appreciated. Thank you. Yes, sir.
Tim McCaffrey from Lime Design.
I'm sorry, speak up.
Tim McCaffrey from Lime Design. Can you tell me about a time before you achieved success when you ran into a bit of business troubles? What did you do to change the situation, motivate the team, to change the dynamic?
Did everybody hear that? What did you do to motivate the team to change the dynamic in a challenging business?
Well, I think that one of my worst moments, and I think anybody who starts a business without financial backing and tries to grow it from scratch, for many years, the only word that really matters is going to be survival, and worrying about saving Africans or saving the environment is just something you've got to put on one side until you've actually you're sure that you as a company can survive yourself. I think that as you're building your business, whether it's good times or bad times, what's key is how you treat the people around you. Are you a good motivator of people? Do you really genuinely care about people? Can you bring out the best in people? Are you good at lavishing praise on people, and rather than criticizing people? Because I think if you're a good people person, then when you run into difficult times, those people will pull around for you. They'll work day and night to try to help whatever you're doing survive. And I think you have a chance of sort of digging yourself out of the difficulties you have got yourself into. And then once you've got out of the difficulty, you can enjoy the good times with those people too. Can I ask you a question? Are you one of the many people who are having difficult times at the moment?
Well, I'm bootstrapping a business. I've been doing it for 2 years now, and we've had ups and downs. So we're going through a bit of a down, but it looks like we're going to be coming out. We've gotten to a point where all we need is cash.
Welcome to the club.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I mean, it's a sad saying, but it's a true saying that cash is king, and just somehow. I mean, I remember years of when even when the parking ticket woman would come to try to collect her debts, of sort of diving behind the door. I found there's just a good place just to hide behind that door, I mean, sitting down with your suppliers and having a heart to heart with them and sort of seeing if you can get them to accept 90 days credit rather than 30 days credit, and maybe giving them a kicker if everything goes well later on. There might be an idea just to try to give yourself a breathing space and give yourself some time. But anyway, good luck. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And we have a couple of more questions right in this corner. Okay, let's go right over here. Yes, sir.
Hi, Jeremy Goldberg, Cape Ann Brewing Company. Just kind of wondered when you felt as an entrepreneur, or was it something you always had, that your voice was one that was worth listening to by your peers?
Could you repeat that? We have a lot of echo up here. We're having a little difficulty hearing you.
I just kind of wondered when you felt your voice was one that was worth listening to by your peers or those who have been in the industry longer than you, or is it something you just always had?
Yeah, it took a while. I'm dyslexic, and therefore I was quite a sort of shy public speaker for a long time, and it's only in the last few years that that I've decided to do a few speeches to sort of raise money for our foundation, and have found that I can manage. I can do it because I'm talking about things that I feel passionate about and things that I'm interested in, and things that I know about. And I think if you, as I said earlier, if you get yourself into a position where people are willing to listen, you might as well try to turn it into a force for good. There are quite a lot of artists now who we've been to and said, Natalie Imbruglia, for instance, beautiful woman, known for her beauty, known for her singing, and we just talked to her and said, look, you're doing hundreds of interviews, you're doing lots of television appearances. Why don't you take a course? And with her, she took a course called Fistula, which is a horrible affliction that happens to young women who give birth too young, and it rips their inside, and they become incontinent, and they get rejected by society. So take a course, and then when you're doing your interviews, you will you can campaign on behalf of it, and it's suddenly given her a whole new lease of life. She's got something that she's found a cause really worthwhile getting involved with. But anyway, the last few years. Thank you.
Thank you. We have a question over here. Yes.
Good morning. I'm Jim Lang. I'm an angel investor and flying to San Francisco on Virgin America next week. So I'm looking forward to that.
Hang on a minute. I think everybody should give him a round of applause for that.
My question is simple. As a business leader, as somebody outside of America, how well do you think we're managing through this economic cycle? Any advice for both the business community, for our leaders in government?
I think that governments have moved just about as quick as they could have done. As I said earlier, I think that you had to avoid the banks going bankrupt. And generally, with any other company, I would say never ever have governments stepping in. And in fact, I think they went too far in stepping into with the car industry. If the car industry's not being run well and it's not paying its bills, let the weaker ones of those go bust. If the airline industry have got inefficient airlines and they're not performing well, let the inefficient ones go bust. Because actually, if you look at the history of recessions, that's how you get out of recessions. You let the weaker, the trees that are old and deserve to die should die, leaving room for new upcoming sprouts. And so I think, I think that the saving the banks was correct. I mean, obviously, they should never have. The government should never have let us get into this mess. You had a situation where a few banks were not protecting the downside. Which is the fundamental rule in business is, what's the worst that can happen, and they didn't take into account what the worst that could happen was. So they didn't protect against the downside. So they put all of our businesses in peril and done unbelievable damage. But I think, hopefully they've moved quick enough. Hopefully, we'll have no more than a couple of years further recession. And I think that, as I said earlier, if everybody who's in a position to help us expand out of this recession can do so, they must do so. If people have got spare cash stashed away, I think they should somehow start putting that cash to good use. Employing people, starting, buying up some of the houses that are there and having difficulty being sold, and we can start the process of moving ourselves back out of it.
Thank you. We have a question.
Would you mind just telling me your thoughts?